Welcome to the final edition of the Day Trading Attention Book Club, our fun little back to school challenge where we bring in different Vayner leaders to share tips, tricks, and insights learned from our favorite new marketing book, Day Trading Attention. I'm Meredith from Vayner, and today I'm going to be joined by Meredith Montana and Raghav Haran, two incredible leaders in our Vayner organization. Raghav, the co-author, I'll say, of Day Trading Attention, and Meredith, who leads our consulting business. How's it going today, y'all?
So good.
Going good.
Excited to be here. Thanks for having me.
We are so excited to have you. Raghav, you've done 3 of these now, right?
Yeah. Done. I think it's the 3rd one.
All right, awesome. Well, we saved the best for last. I'm going to hand it over to you all to get in and share a little bit of information on what chapters and 7 and beyond entail in Day Trading Attention.
Amazing. Thank you, Avery. It's good to talk to you, Meredith, for the first time. We're on.
I know. I'm ready. I'm excited. Let's chat.
Yeah, so this is I guess we're wrapping up the overall book here. What we've been doing the last few sessions is just jamming on things that you're seeing on the accounts, things that you're involved in. The theme of the book basically is what Vayner does, really. So it's what we do on a day-to-day basis. So I think it's fun to go into tactically what you're seeing, or overall what you're seeing, what's catching your attention on platforms or with clients or with just overall news. Just curious where your head's at.
It was fun to kind of come in at the end and really be able to reflect back of okay, looking at the book as a whole, looking at everything, how do we think about this? And I always think back to I'm a Vayner boomerang. I've been with the company almost 9 years now. And I remember the first time, when we were really kind of coming up and starting as a company, was thinking about this idea of at the time, I didn't understand that we were following attention. And now it's so clear to see as we talk about the platform evolution of, it was long form video on Meta, it was short form video, it was only paid, now it's only organic. I feel as a marketer that can just feel what are we doing? Where are we going? How do I get started? But really breaking down that baseline understanding of no, I am just following attention. And that makes the change of it all, I feel a little less scary as a marketer, because you have that such clarity of I just need to understand where consumer attention is and why that's happening and follow that. And I feel that for me was the biggest unlock. And even reading this book, I was duh, it's attention. It all makes sense. It all comes full circle. It's what we've been building for the last, 13 years in this company. I'm I see it all now. So it was such an eye-opening moment. And I think too, today looking at the platforms and understanding that reach is earned, right? And that you have to have that kind of creative variable and the ability to unlock that reach as well, is really kind of that currency for attention and how that looks, what that looks like. And really kind of having that be the core pillar of all this was kind of fun to think back and reflect as I'm thinking about, what we've been doing at Vayner and really how Day Trading Attention encompasses all of that. It's been a kind of a fun journey of oh yeah, it makes sense all along. There's always a method here.
Yeah, it's a framework, the flow charts and all that stuff. It kind of clicks. Okay, this is what we're talking about. One thing that Gary always says that's fun for me to hear is if he was living in the caveman times, he would be doing smoke signals, or he'd be writing on the cave walls or whatever. It's it's the same kind of game as
the same
that.
Thing. Yes, constantly evolving. And now it's I think it was fun reading the end too again about AI in the future there, and kind of thinking about what this new frontier of GEO is and how we kind of think about that. And it's again following attention in a world where this feels like a scary new frontier. Sometimes it's oh no, we're just following attention, and the simple building blocks of how to unpack it, the model that we have here, kind of really thinking through that, I feel makes the net new world of marketing so much more accessible as well.
Yeah. How do you stay, because there's a lot of stuff that the platforms, the algorithm, all the cultural things, there's a lot of elements at play. How do you stay on top of it yourself, or understand what's on the cutting edge of things?
Yeah, I think it's the practitionership side of it. I feel that's the key, right? Is just being in the platforms and understanding what's working, and also being obsessed with the data, understanding why something's overperforming, understanding why a certain thing is, getting over indexing reach, understanding why something didn't work. I feel like so much more we learn from the no's of what didn't work or why didn't this hit. And we had this hunch, we had this assumption and it didn't. How do we remix it? How do we give this a second life? How do we really think about, did we miss the trend? Did we not find the right way in? Was the format wrong? Is the audience really craving a different format and feature? And I also love the idea, a lot of things we do on some of our accounts too is like burner accounts and really kind of putting towards an account as a specific cohort or as a specific person. Because, who I am, Meredith, as a marketer, as a person, it's very different than who a lot of my, client cohorts are. So understanding what's important to them, understanding what type of content that they're seeing, I think makes a big difference as we kind of think about what and how to apply this practically for our clients as well. Mm-hmm. How about you? What do you do?
Yeah, this is like, I was just pulling up this piece of content from Stella Artois. This is like when you were talking about like remixing.
Is this the croissant?
Yeah, this is the croissant chalice piece from ABI. And like, it's funny because like a lot of us in the room, including the client, like we didn't expect this to really hit the way that it did. This ended up being like, for like the 1 week period where we're like really doing this, like this was like the top performing paid asset of this campaign, or like one of the top. And like it's fascinating because like this is like technically because like this came from like a longer piece of raw footage when talking about the croissant chalice, but like the way that it was like chopped up and edited, like we were really surprised. We kind of like took this like a little comment and put it on top of the screen here. It was like a little IG comment to make it slightly more native.
I love it.
This was like one of the examples of something that just like, like there's so many versions of this where like things are, you don't expect it to hit. And we're seeing this a lot on Gary's content right now where like you don't expect the things that are working like 6 months ago or like a year ago are very different from what's hitting right now. And like we're going through that adjustment period and finding the new way of operating right now in Gary's and everywhere too.
Yeah, I feel like you have to. I feel like you have to stay on top of it consistently. Otherwise, what worked yesterday is not going to work tomorrow. It's not going to work in a month from now. And really being on the pulse of it all makes such a difference. I feel like, especially I love that idea too, as you're saying, like the Stella example of like, how do we just get more? And like, as marketers think like, how do we get more content out of the content that we're already making? And how do we get this to flex and work harder for us as well? I feel like it's been such an unlock too. I think the work you guys did with like the Stella example there too is such a huge example of just how to get more from a shoot, how to get more from assets and how to remix them for longevity to hit that scale and reach as well.
Yeah. I'll pull up one more here from this we posted yesterday on Gary's channel. Like when this was with the theme of this, like these thin Instagram reels that are hitting. This is something that we do quite often when there's like a new feature or a format. The first thing we tend to do is like go through other top performing pieces of content that worked in the past or like styles that have worked in the past that we have a good sense might hit again and remix it and redo it for the new format. So then we can kind of see, does the new format work or not? Or is there potential with this new thing? Because like we already have one variable of like, okay, we have a sense that this type of content works. Let's just like translate it to this new format and like see if this thing hits. So there's like a fun thing we did yesterday. Like, shout out to Braden on our team who like did this like little, who came up with that idea.
I love that. We just did that for Jimmy John's too. It was like a super long pickle. Shout out to our pickle people. Everyone loves a pickle. Well, 50% of America loves pickles, but people who do are very passionate about pickles. We found we did the same format with a pickle. Yeah. So it's fun to kind of stay on, the edge of that as well.
Yeah. On Jimmy John's, like, anything else you're seeing like that's working on that side of things?
Yeah. It's been interesting too. So as a brand that's willing to kind of like take some risks, we've seen a lot of success within 420 and weed culture as that has become a little bit more accepted socially across the world. And we did a dime bag, which was shout out to Gary. It was his idea. He was like, can we just make a dime bag? And we're like, yeah, let's do it. So we've seen a bunch of success there, kind of unpacking what that looks like, making kind of a little bit more acceptance from that. We've done some like different blinker checkpoints and that if you know, kind of in that subculture. And then we've also found a ton of success with passionate pickle people. And this idea of like pickles, but also kind of through this idea of like collectibles. So we had a viral moment. We had like a keychain, a pickle keychain that we did. And that was like, if you see this, you're going to get like 5 years of good luck. Like think back to like the forward email days from like our AIM point in life. I'm probably dating myself. You're probably too young for that, Raghav. But thinking back to like, if you forward this along and like it went so viral, we remixed it. We've also seen a lot of success with like different curation and like unexpected mixes. So a ranch fanny pack. Poor Missy, lovely creator on our team. She literally dumped ranch into her mom's car console in Florida, which I can't imagine the smell of that after the fact, but it just shows how much people love their kickin' ranch and their pickles and that like willingness to be a little bit irreverent, a little bit kind of push the envelope, but seeing the fans kind of react. And like, I think the great thing too about Jimmy John's as a brand is they have such deep fandom. And I think their people really show up for them. So seeing it in the comments of like, do a fanny pack next, do this, and kind of taking our fodder and excitement from what we're seeing in the comments and what we're reacting to as well, to be the inspiration for the next post or the next fun thing that we do, whether it's pickle based, whether it's the next LTO that we do, or, you know, kind of whether we recommend an LTO based off of that. For example, like Pickle Witch we did a couple years ago was based off of this like viral trend around pickles. And Jimmy John's actually started and created a Pickle Witch sandwich. On the heels of that, we partnered with Snooki from Jersey Shore, who is a known pickle fan. We moved up their kind of like key window to be around Halloween and to move up this idea of Pickle Day because it was a trend. So not only did they kind of shift when they talked about this LTO based off of social insights, they also brought an LTO that was grounded in social insights, in social learnings, and created a Pickle Witch sandwich, which was their top performing LTO to date. Which really just shows kind of the insights and success there as well.
Yeah. The pickle concept has been like, how did that, do you know how that came about? Like, how did the concept of pickles as like is that from like Jimmy John's, or like, was that something we came up with? How did that start?
If you haven't tried a Jimmy John's pickle, you need to try a Jimmy John's pickle. I will get you one. There's one by the office. They're fantastic if you're a pickle person. But Jimmy John's always prided themselves. They have fantastic pickles. So we'd seen a lot of trend and topics and passion and people and comments around pickles. And then there had started to be viral conversations of this idea of like low carb life, or how to not do bread, or how to like use pickles in different and unique ways. And we saw people talking a little bit about kind of this pickle sandwich, and there was different like smaller delis that had done it and gotten some like viral success. So we started kind of testing into the pickle space and unpacking of like, you know, would people be open to this? Is this something that they would want from a Jimmy John's? And how do we kind of think about what pickles are? And knowing kind of the business need for it, the idea that they have all the ingredients. So it's a fairly low lift LTO for them to kind of quickly turn on. And then also the validation that we saw across social content from pickles being such a passion point, and you know, people being like, I would eat that. I would love this. I want this. Gave the team the confidence kind of move forward with it. So that was kind of the validation and insight behind that. And then knowing that we wanted, this idea of people being huge pickle fans, which is why we selected Snooki to kind of be our pickle witch. Because it's Halloween, pickle witch, play on the pickle witch sandwich, and moved up kind of the LTO based off of the conversation, what was happening in culture around Halloween, and kind of this limited time thing. We did kind of a little spooky spot around that because it was like limited time, get yours while you can. And they actually had also been rolling out pickle chips. So it kind of played nicely together to kind of have this pickle collection of the sandwich and chips as well. And worked really well. Like I said, it was their top performing LTO, and really kind of gave us all the confidence that like, yes, like when you find that validated insight in social, when we know pickles are something that's so inherent in our fandom and people who want to engage with us and work with us, it's it de-risks the broader investment because we have that validation and that confidence that this is the right move from a marketing perspective.
Yeah, that makes sense. It's interesting. Like I'm just thinking like sharing the personal brand side of it is funny because like on Gary's side is literally the same exact thing. It's just like applied to a human being versus a brand.
Yeah.
It's this like our version of like laddering up an insight would be something like starting with the comments of an Instagram post and then devoting more resources and making a higher production YouTube video, for example, around that concept, or being like, okay, now Gary, you should spend your time to go and do this thing because now we've had insight from the comment, from a video that did well. That concept has been validated in a longer form YouTube format. and then we just keep putting more and more resources behind it in whatever way that we're able to keep building it. So it's like for a human and a brand, it's like the same game.
Yeah, it's the same game, same process. It's all this. It's all right here. No, it's not, because I think it just shows, the versatility and ability of the model to really work for anyone and anything. It's just finding the right way in. It's finding how it applies to your brand and figuring and or yourself, right, as a human, and being kind of really that true practitioner of the platforms to understand what is working, where it makes sense for you to play, what trends, what audiences, what is your unique perspective, and kind of weigh in for you to kind of continue to grow and scale across social as well.
Yeah, makes sense. Anything that's like interesting in terms of how we create? I think one of the things I've learned in being in some of these like early AIM sessions with Jimmy Johns or with other teams is like the ideation process that has now started as a result of AIM, and like how everyone's like starting to like the blending of roles of all different departments and how everyone's like just jamming together now. Like, I'm curious how you've seen the evolution of that, and like, because that's been like a change, which has been cool to see. And like, it feels like the future of how this ideation kind of workflow happens, where like everyone's kind of just jamming together in like a room, right?
Yeah. I think it like just plays the idea of that like a good idea can come from anywhere and anyone. And I think everyone's insight and perspective is unique and valid. And what, might resonate with me as a Bravo Real Housewives fan and a mom potentially might be different than what would resonate with you. And both of our perspectives with the brand or our perspective weigh in is both valid, right? And you are able to kind of yes and in this new world, and the nuanced spin that you put on someone who's a Bravo fan might be different than, someone who, as I'm thinking about, telling this Pickle Witch story from a B2B LinkedIn perspective of why and how, Jimmy John started this LTO. So kind of like seeing that kind of scale and longevity, I think really also alludes to the aim of it all, that this idea can come from anywhere. And I also think it's like a shout out to the creatives as well, of kind of having that lack of ego and openness and willingness to hear ideas from anywhere, and like being able to kind of take in those different perspectives and of like, that's interesting, I haven't thought about it that way, or like, let me try this concept, or let's remix it together. And I think it just really gets at the more is more from a content perspective too. I also think, it gives content more at bats as well. Like I always think of like the Corona work you guys did on ABI as well, and just kind of how, something, giving a branded piece of content that we as marketers care about, and it's a huge brand initiative. How do we give that life beyond the original hero asset too? And how do we also kind of take in, what we know is working and apply those learnings and scale that holistically too? I think that's what's been really fun about the AIM sessions collectively, is just seeing that team come together too.
Yeah. The Corona thing was fascinating. Like, that just blew my mind. That was like early in the days of the Facebook 1-second videos, when the first version of that, there was like a beach, like a picture of a beach basically is what we converted into like a 1-second video. And that did like, it was like 20 million views or something compared to like 10,000 it was like significantly different. It was just like insane to see that.
Yeah. And it shows, that like that slight nuance, that slight platform understanding, that ability that you guys are practitioners of the platform, and you're like, okay, this isn't a no. That doesn't mean this didn't work, right? Let's try something else. Let's try it in a different way. Let's tweak the format. And I think that's where that, like, to me, the numbers in the backside of it all, and looking at the analytics, looking at the data, unpacking like, okay, where's the like spike? Where's the drop off rate? Why are people like rewatching here? And taking that to kind of inform the creative and really seeing the science behind the art of it all is where I think a lot of the magic happens as well.
Yeah. The thing that's exciting me right now is that we're using that like on TikTok, on Gary's TikTok. We've been doing like second chance, third chance of different videos, and just like redoing the hook and reposting it and redoing the hook again and reposting it. And that to me is like the most exciting, because we get to get learnings on like the details of like how he says something. Like if we're trying to figure out how to say, talk about the phrase of accountability, because that's like something he talks about and that's like a pillar. Like, what is the best way to speak about accountability? Like, what are the words that you say at the beginning for a brand? That's like, there's like other details too, like visuals and stuff. But like with Gary, it's like, what are the phrases that work when talking about this concept? Like, it's this versus this, and like getting to those very specific details is like the most fun part.
Yeah, it's crazy. I mean, the data is all at our fingertips, and just I think the willingness to, I think what's so great about Gary and why his brand, has grown so amazingly. And obviously everything that's detailed in the book is just like the openness to like, yeah, let's post both. Yes. It's yes and, right? I want to understand this. I'm not going to be, precious of my feed or precious of what I'm posting and be like, we're going to post the same asset with 3 different words because I need to understand if this word resonates better or if this word resonates better, because that's going to inform everything else I do or how I talk about this pillar, what, brand positioning I'm going to go forward with, because I got that validated insight and that research, and you get it so quickly. You put a piece of content out daily, you could have insights and learnings in 48, 24 hours and then double down on that and then feel confident of like, okay, now I'm making the right decision.
Yeah. Yeah. Like you need the volume to experiment. Otherwise it's just like, you can't, it's really hard.
Right.
You need the data. You need like, it's just data points, just constant data points is what we need.
Yes, exactly. And I think the A/B testing too, that gives you the volume as well. Like in a world where it's volume and variety, being able to try something different or post the same asset with 2 different ways in or a different hook kind of gives you that volume game as well in a world where, making at scale might be a challenge for some brands as well.
Yeah. As I saw Sahari put a comment here in the chat. Love giving videos second chances. How do we get on board clients to do it? Any thoughts on that?
Ooh, let's see. I think one, I would ask them why they wouldn't be on board. What was it about the video, right? They had to approve it the first time. So they must have liked it round 1. And then I would get very clear about like what you're trying to learn from it. What's the second chance? Why do we feel like it needs a second chance? Is it because we have a brand, love this asset and we need it to work and we paid a lot of money for it and we needed to like get the reach? Or do we as, creatives and strategists think like there's something here, like I feel it in my bones and I feel like if I do it in a different way, it's going to do it. And I think also like walking them through how it like de-risks what you're doing. If the creative asset sucks, it's not going to get the reach. So no one's going to see it and it's going to be okay. So I think education around our clients and just be like, you like this once, let's try it again. And really kind of have the rationale behind the why of what you're trying to do, what you're trying to test, what you want to get out of that second chances asset as well. But would love to kind of hear how you guys think about it too.
Yeah, it's like, I think this is also a good way to get them on board onto new platforms. So like in addition to like if we were going to repost the same thing, second chance, third chance it, you can also post like the YouTube version of it. You can post the Facebook version of it. So like if you're not on YouTube Shorts, as an opportunity to get on YouTube Shorts, to try the YouTube Shorts version and then, see if it does better there compared to your YouTube Shorts average compared to the Instagram average. So that's like, that's like another angle there. It's like the build on top of what you're saying is if they're worried about posting the same thing back to back or posting the same thing, on the same grid or something like that, it can also just be a different channel.
Yep, exactly. I love that.
Yeah.
I feel like that's fun.
Awesome. Any like last thoughts on either the book or anything else you're seeing? Anything else popping off on the client side?
Yeah, I think it's just like this idea too, as you think back and look at the book and, what it is and the commitment that it takes is like this idea of just like the investment and like the long game of success. And it's really about kind of investing the time, effort, energy, practice to drive your brand forward or yourself forward as an individual across social. And it's not like I'm going to post one thing and I'm going to solve all my marketing problems, but it's really that commitment to always on organic social across channels, following where attention is, continuing to be the practitioner, I think is like the biggest thing for us of like, how do we continue to scale that? How do we continue to get brands to prioritize and reinvest and realize that this is the long haul in the future of where marketing is going? And it's all about kind of that attention landscape, but building the tools to move at the speed of attention will forever pay dividends across the brand and business, I think.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah. I think like, to that point is to get the volume of content, we don't have to always create new stuff all the time. It can also just be like the same thing in different ways. I think maybe I can show like different ways that we're doing that here on the Gary side. Like this was something that was interesting that we posted a while back. Like this this video, for example, is like a classic video that we've posted multiple times over and over and over again. But if you look at the very end, if you wait, like this, there's like this low battery icon that pops up that like kind of like gets people into thinking that their phone is dying. So like that was like the same piece of content. We probably remixed it over the course of months and years, but like that version was like a new version because we wanted to try like, oh, does that generate comments more than something else does? So that was like an interesting one.
That's really cool. I also feel like Gary's such a good example too of just like always filming and always understanding like the opportunity to capture content at scale, right? To your point of like, how do we remix this? Like if you shoot one shoot or if you shoot one live stream or the ability to kind of like cut this down, like we've been talking for what, like 20 plus minutes at this point, the ability to turn a talk like this into assets at scale. So you're really maximizing that output. I feel like Gary does a great job of that as well. And you guys all kind of really take advantage of those moments of content capture at scale as well.
Yeah, like trying different, like I think from a brand side or even personal side, it's like, what is like the text only version of, what the brand would do. And this is kind of how we think about, when we scroll through the feed also, like there is no thought of like, oh, this is not on brand or like, this is not something that we would do. It's like, okay, is there a way in like with this format, what would be the Gary or the brand version of this kind of thing? And does it make sense? I think that's a good way to like enter into different formats. Like what if we had to post a text only quote, what would that look like? Yep. If we had to post a stitch on TikTok, what would that look like? If we had to do a live stream, what would it look like? And like, so like it just kind of like creates more creativity there too.
Yeah. No, I love that. As like a user too, I have like, a saves button of like content that caught my attention. And I just like go back to it and I'm like, why did I stop on this? Was it the format? Was it the topic? Was it interesting? And like having that collection to reflect on that and then kind of give those insights as ideas to the creative team or to the brand as well. And like, why am I stopping on this? And how does that apply to either me as a person or the brand that I'm working on? How do I kind of take that, thumb stopping moment and do that as well? I feel like my favorite chats are like all of us going back and forth of like, did you see this? This is fun. How about this? And just kind of like getting that ideation going and running back and forth as well.
Yeah. I think there was like an exercise that Peter Chun did a while back where he was like, everyone's like, pull out their phones and look at your DMs and like, why did you share what you shared? That's an interesting question to ask.
That's my favorite icebreaker that we do with clients in consulting is like, pull out your phone and what was the last thing that you sent as a DM? And we're always like, what does this have in common? And everyone's like, I don't know. And I'm like, none of them were ads. Nothing you shared with your friends or your family or your significant other was an ad. And like getting marketers kind of think differently of like, oh, right. Like I got to make content that people actually want to consume. It's a fun kind of just exercise to think about as like the end user, right? How and what you're engaging with.
Yeah. It also helps to like have like a personal account, I think too, a little bit. Like I think to the experimentation of volume and the level of depth that we really need to go to. It helps to have either like secondary handles or like personal accounts or just like avenues to try things, more avenues you can create to try things. Like you can call learnings will translate to each other. And because, there's some channels where we can't post a whole ton of volume, but like you can give yourself another avenue, whether it's like personal or a secondary channel for the brand or something else.
Yes, exactly. No, I love that.
Yeah. All right. I think we're coming up on time here.
This was so fun. Thanks for having me.
It was good. It was fun. Our first actual call was on live stream. So.
I know, right? This is the most time we've jammed. I love it.
Amazing. Well, thank you all. Hope you all had a good time. And
appreciate
it was good.
I appreciate the comments and the questions. Thanks for spending 30 minutes with us.
Thanks, Meredith.